From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Tonight, President Trump will deliver his State of the Union address. I'm live in Civic Space Park, where we've been asking Arizonans what they want to hear from the president.
Plus, this Phoenix clinic has been open since 2015. So why is it the only option for most of its patients?
And Governor Doug Ducey wants to invest more money in school safety. The new measures that could be coming to Arizona campuses soon.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Haley Brand.
And I'm Bayan Wang. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, President Donald Trump will address the nation for the State of the Union. It's 1 week later than it was supposed to be after Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi disinvited him to the Capitol during the government shutdown.
Cronkite News reporter Bryce Newberry joins us live with a look at what Arizonans should be listening for tonight.
We've been out here in Civic Space Park for most of the day asking people what they want to hear from President Trump during tonight's address. We'll get to those results in just a bit, but first, here's a look at what local experts are saying to be on the lookout for. The State of the Union is slated for tonight after a 1 week delay. Tonight, President Donald Trump expected to focus strongly on border security.
It'll be a key element of what he'll talk about, his need for some kind of physical barrier, or whatever he's going to call it, a wall or whatever. And he'll also likely point out that he thinks it's a national emergency at the border.
Dave Wells is a political science lecturer at ASU. He says there are other hot topics tonight to listen for.
Well, he's going to pat himself on the back for a lot of things. The economy is doing quite well. We've had good economic growth. We had a great jobs report the last couple of months, and he'll attribute that most likely to the tax cuts that the Republicans passed in December of 2017, that a lot of Americans may now notice that their taxes have gone down. He'll also claim perhaps that he's defeated ISIS, which is a bit disputed, but that will be put forward.
Here in Arizona, there are a few other key things to pay attention to. Diane Brown from the Arizona Public Interest Research Group.
Infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're not only fixing crumbling roads and bridges in Arizona, but there's an increased investment in public transportation. We've seen record ridership numbers coming out of Valley Metro in the last few years.
A lot of different perspectives and obviously a lot of hot topics on people's mind. Back out here live, we have been asking people what they think and what they want to hear from President Trump tonight. And the biggest category that people are voting for is government shutdown concerns. That's followed by health care, which had the second highest number of votes. A lot of people also said other. A couple of the things they wrote down include education as well as climate change. So a few, we've been out here most of the day. About 150 people stopped by to take the poll today. We were asking about different topics, including border security, tax cuts, infrastructure, healthcare, shutdown concerns, and other. People were able to put their marbles in a cup that best represented their concerns. Now, we're not exactly sure what Trump will say, but one expert told me to expect teleprompted Trump, and that a lot of eyes will be looking for Twitter Trump. So take a listen to what some people had to say when they stopped by today.
I'm looking forward to him addressing the government shutdown concerns. Both of my parents are Army veterans, and my dad's actually in Iraq right now serving our country, and he wasn't getting paid what he should have been getting paid, despite the fact that his life is on the line, his people are there, and they're working hard, and the military is not getting the respect that Trump says that he has for them if he's not willing to compromise to keep our government open.
Infrastructure-wise, I want to hear about alternative energies and sustainable solutions that, basically, I don't think they've been talking a lot about either.
Of course, you can watch the State of the Union tonight on Arizona PBS. Live coverage starts at 7 p.m. right here on Channel 8. For now, live in Phoenix, Bryce Newberry, Cronkite News.
We also asked people on social media to tell us in 4 words what they most want to hear addressed in tonight's State of the Union. Here are a few of the responses. Sean writes, climate education, social responsibility. Charles says, children reuniting with families. Monty's 4 words are, build the border wall. And finally, Jackie says she wants to hear, I am resigning today. It's not too late to join the conversation. Just go to our Cronkite News Facebook page and chime in. And while we don't know exactly what the president's going to say tonight, we do know who he's invited as his guests. And that's often the best clue to the messages he'll include in his speech. But the president's not the only one who can play that game. And the game is definitely on ahead of tonight's speech, as Alyssa Klink reports from our Washington Bureau.
The president's guest box tonight will include people who survived opioid addictions, others who had family members killed by an undocumented immigrant, and a survivor of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh. But they are just a few of the hundreds of guests who will watch in person tonight. The president may have a message for the nation, but various members of Congress have a message for him.
They want to highlight these guests for political reasons.
Each of the 530 members of Congress are entitled to one carefully selected guest at the State of the Union address. And Professor Mark Rahm at the Georgetown University School of Public Policy says there will be no shortage in political jabs this evening.
President Trump is not going to pay any attention to anyone the Democrats bring. So he'll highlight those who support his goals in the State of the Union address.
Not all the selections are political. Arizona Senator Martha McSally is hosting Isaiah Acosta, a 19-year-old rapper who was born without a lower jaw. For Senator Kyrsten Sinema, it's retired U.S. Air Force Major Brian Bouchard, who was also on her Veterans Advisory Council. Congressman Greg Stanton, a Democrat, is bringing Ellie Perez, who was the first DACA recipient employed by the city of Phoenix, while Republican Congressman Andy Biggs is countering with Art Del Cueto, an official with the Union for Border Patrol Agents. Rahm is not surprised by the differing guests, but said in a House divided, all presidents have abided by the same common theme.
Well, I think presidents always try to get the same tone, which is a sense of optimism and a sense of unity. So they want to inspire the country that we're moving forward and we can move forward better together.
President Trump may call for unity, but some Democrats will call him out for his policies. Their guests include Dreamers and transgender veterans. And Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will bring the protester who cornered then Arizona Senator Jeff Flake over Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. In Washington, Alyssa Klink, Cronkite News.
Right now, Cronkite News is taking a look at Phoenix-based nonprofit Peacework Medical, a group that specializes in medical care for members of the LGBTQ+ community who are also undocumented. Reporter Austin Westfall spoke with patients and volunteers at the group's monthly clinic on Sunday. Austin?
Peacework is in its 5th year of offering the clinic, and those in the LGBTQ+ and undocumented communities who make regular visits say it offers them a safe place to get treatment free of charge.
In the current political climate, anyone with brown skin is getting screamed at, told to go home. And so the fear of just coming to see the doctor can keep people away.
But at Peacework, the doors are wide open. The volunteer-run Phoenix Clinic treats patients who are LGBTQ and many times also undocumented.
We offer primary care of all kinds, and primarily we also offer gender transition care.
When do you want to pick up the prescription?
Open since 2015, patients say they come to Peacework to get the care they simply can't get anywhere else. For some, it's their last resort after having trouble communicating about their health concerns with primary care physicians in other clinics.
We don't have a lot of doctors that are competent with transgender issues.
About their gender, their sexuality, their migrant status.
Essentially,
Francisco Luna is a patient at Peacework, but he also volunteers at the clinic as a translator when there's a language barrier. His family came to the U.S. from Sonora, Mexico in 2001 after discovering he was going blind in his left eye.
So in Mexico, they never had a clue as to what it was. They just thought it was really nearsighted. And so once I was here, it was identified.
Doctors in Arizona knew how to help Luna, but he was undocumented and he had no health insurance. Now, he's blind in his left eye.
Having access to the money, it was impossible So I made the personal decision to not have the surgery.
PeaceWorks is scheduled to see 22 patients, and most of them are transgender. Group leaders say that's because they offer something that other clinics don't.
They didn't understand me. Like, they sent me to therapy, and they kind of thought that, like, this is not what I wanted. They were trying to change the way I viewed stuff.
Amber Martinez didn't get the hormone treatment she wanted until she discovered PeaceWork 2 months ago. She knew she was transgender from a young age.
Okay, we'll do noon.
Living most of her life feeling miserable and uncomfortable in her own skin.
Ever since I was younger, I always felt different from everybody else. And in a way, I feel like they're making my dreams come true.
Now, PeaceWorks works closely with Trans Queer Pueblo, a Latinx social justice organization. The clinic is funded completely by donations and grants, opening their doors to all patients the first Sunday of every month. In the broadcast center, Austin Westfall, Cronkite News.
More than 100 new school counselors could soon be hired in Arizona under Governor Doug Ducey's proposed budget. Our state has one of the highest student-to-counselor ratios, but this proposal could reduce caseloads by 17%. Tavia Madison shows us the impact they have on students and safety.
Knowing that my kids have a safe place to go and have that conversation is so important to me.
TERRAMAR elementary school teacher JHENESSA MCCAMMOND says having an additional resource is important.
I know that I build relationships with my students and that they know that they can come to me if anything's going on. But sometimes when there's several other kids in the room, that can be something that kids want to avoid.
This week, those resources are being recognized as Governor Ducey proclaimed this week's School Counselor Week, and one lawmaker is already working towards lowering the student per counselor ratio here in Arizona.
If we can bring more counselors to the schools, it'll really make an impact on the mental health of our students, and I really think that it will make a difference in the working environment for the teachers as well.
Representative Jennifer Pollock has joined Senator Sean Bowie in creating bills to get more counselors in schools. According to the Arizona School Counselors Association, Arizona has some of the lowest rates in the entire nation in regard to the ratio of counselors to student. Currently, the rate is sitting at 903 students per every one counselor. That's why lawmakers are working extra hard this legislative session to drastically reduce this ratio.
Over a period of 5 years, we want to improve the ratio of counselors to students so that we have 550 students to one counselor.
The governor's call for more funding is part of his Safe Arizona Schools plan. Ducey says this is the first time in state history that a budget could specifically add funding for more school counselors.
I know that the counselors are making a huge impact in the children's lives on a daily basis, and that our school would definitely not function the same without a counselor.
In Phoenix, Tavia Madison, Cronkite News.
Ducey's proposal calls for 112 counselors to be added this year and another 112 next. Another important part of every school day, recess.
Next up on Cronkite News, we check in on how Arizona schools are dealing with the recess laws implemented last fall.
Plus, finding affordable childcare can be difficult, but one government subsidy may provide some relief to low-income families. We have the details next.
Editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
A law was passed in Arizona last year to encourage physical activity among students. Grace Fuerte caught up with Stanfield Elementary Principal Chris LINEBERRY and David Crockett Elementary's Josh Ribos to discuss the effects this law has had on their schools.
When the school year began, it came with a new requirement at Stanfield Elementary in Maricopa, along with elementary schools across the state: 2 periods of recess.
What I have found is kids love it. You know, they enjoy being able to move. We have made PE a priority on our campus.
Governor Doug Ducey made the recess requirement law when he signed Senate Bill 1083 in April. David Crockett Elementary physical education teacher Josh Mybos, who was named Arizona Teacher of the Year by the Arizona Educational Foundation in 2017, said he helped educate senators on the correlation between movement and learning.
Continued learning happens on the playground. So brain cells are built when kids move and oxygen gets to the brain. When kids feel like they're in a comfort learning environment, that their academic improves as well.
Resistance to this law comes from a place of fear for many, but Stanfield and David Crockett Elementary are clear examples that when it comes to students, physical well-being leads to success.
There are many districts and administrators and leaders who come from a position of being fearful. They want to improve test scores and they're afraid if they don't that they'll lose their jobs. I think academic performance is important, but I think what's more important is that we address the needs of kids, which is why I think it's so important that we allow kids the opportunity to move throughout the day.
Last year, Arizona scored below the national average for overall sports participation and physical activity on the U.S. report card for physical activity for children and youth put out by the National Physical Activity Plan Alliance. In Phoenix, Grace Fuerte, Cronkite News.
Arizona will continue to try to raise youth physical activity across the state by encouraging schools to keep their students moving.
Finding affordable and quality child care can be hard for low-income families, especially when the government program that was supposed to help them is outdated. Reporter Nicole Hernandez went to a daycare facility that hopes new funding from the state will improve the system.
You see the butterfly? Running a daycare takes a lot of coordination.
They've had lunch and a nap and a snack, and they've painted and they've gotten dirty, and we wash their face, and they go home and they have an amazing evening.
It's also not cheap.
And phone, there you go. Childcare rates have almost doubled.
As part of the child care subsidy programs, the state gives money to daycares to cover part of a child's tuition. The problem? The state isn't giving enough money, so families have to make up the difference out of their own pockets.
It's hard. As soon as they walk in, we know we're going to have the talk.
A talk about fees that some families can't afford. Currently, the state provides funding for daycares based on how much it costs to run them in 2000, 19 years ago. Governor Doug Ducey announced earlier this year a plan to invest $56 million into the subsidy program.
Not a dime of any of that will help this business. Like, I am not getting a new car over this. But those families will be able to keep their car.
Ducey's plan is to put half of the money towards helping families already in the system and the other half towards new children.
We're going to move from the back of the pack to right in the middle, and then we're also going to let about 5,000 other children have these subsidies.
Come on! But ultimately, the program is about providing a safe place for children to learn and grow, even away from home.
If it's going to be free, if it's going to be support, help, make it meaningful.
You land on the soft dirt. In Phoenix, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
The money has not been given to the program yet. Republican Representative Michelle Udall introduced a bill to change how the money would be split.
What could the state of Arizona look like in 100 years? One local artist has an idea.
After the break, we'll take you to the post-apocalyptic art exhibit showing a grim environmental future.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Two Arizona artists came together to create a colorful and playful take on what Arizona's environmental future could look like.
Cronkite News reporter Gabrielle Oliveira takes us inside the exhibit in Chandler.
In the eyes of artists Daniel FUNKHOUSER and Sarah Hurwitz, this is what Arizona could look like one day. Mutant cacti, a mountain made of trash, colorful plastic bags. They call it Futureland, Arizona.
Futureland, Arizona is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi experience made from collaborative show between me and Sarah Hurwitz.
But Funkhouser and Hurwitz say the show isn't about making a political statement about Arizona's environment.
It wasn't totally our intention to make this like political piece about the environment, but I think it still is important. I mean, it's something that we all have an impact on in our daily lives, and I think as artists, we sort of just reflect what's around us and what we're thinking about.
Like Sarah said, we weren't trying to be political or, make too much of a statement about like climate change, but it's obviously on our minds.
Peter Bugg is the one who brought Funkhouser and Hurwitz together to create the show. He says their creation has an important message.
Sort of lightheartedness so that people can think about this really important topic of what are we going to do here in the summers in 50 years, and is it going to be a good place to live then?
And that's a big question. According to the Arizona State Climate Office, temperatures in the state are increasing overall, and that it's likely to be warmer in 50 years. But as to how much warmer, scientists say they don't know. In Chandler, Gabrielle Alvera, Cronkite News.
Futureland Arizona will be on display through February 15th at the Vision Gallery in downtown Chandler.
If you plan on heading up north today, you may want to think twice. Authorities are discouraging travel in parts of the high country due to a winter storm that's expected to bring heavy snowfall, strong winds, and chilly temps in the single digits. Experts say the most dangerous time to travel is going to be overnight into the morning. Lauren Schieler is joining us now with more on that. Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, we can no longer brag to people out east who are dealing with the polar vortex because we now have some bad weather coming our way. We're going to see rain chances tonight, and this is actually rain for us, snow for up north, but this is only a 24-hour type deal. So you can see it's pushed out of the valley. This is by early tomorrow morning, so heading out the door, heading out to work, you're not going to need that umbrella, chances are. And then we're seeing even by late tomorrow afternoon, the majority of the state should be clear of this. So we're looking at 3 to 7 inches of snow up north in Flagstaff, only about 1/4 of an inch of precipitation for us here in the valley. But the real concern is flash flooding, potentially in areas south of Payson, and of course winter weather advisories from areas like Show Low all the way up north to the Grand Canyon. Certainly something to keep an eye on if you're heading up north. And with this low pressure and the rain and the snow, we're certainly going to see a hit in our temperature. Lows for the evening, freezing temperatures up north, 6 degrees in the Grand Canyon, 22 for Sedona, mid-30s for the valley. So the good news is, though, only 10% chance of showers tomorrow morning, just in those early morning hours. Then we can't complain. We have bragging rights coming out. Sunshine in the forecast for the next 7 days.
Coming up on Cronkite News, are you flushing money down the drain? Some people actually are.
And you won't believe what else the city of Surprise says they're finding in drains. We'll show you after the break.
All of its children had come to the Mother Church of Country Music. It was almost like a badge of honor that you had to bring your culture with you to the table. That's why Bob Wills and his guys brought us Western music. That's why Hank Williams brought the South with him from Honky Tonks. Johnny Cash brought the Black Lamb Dirt of Arkansas. Bill Monroe brought music out of Kentucky bluegrass music. Willie Nelson brought his poetry from Texas. Patsy Cline brought her heartache from Virginia. I mean, it was the most wonderful parade of sons and daughters of America that brought their hearts and their souls and their experiences, and it gave us a great era in country music.
One city has a creative new way to educate people on proper wastewater disposal.
Cronkite News reporter Jennifer Alvarez traveled to Surprise to find out how they're doing just that.
The city of Surprise is teaching residents to be gross, but it's not what you think. It's a new campaign that actually stands for Be Guardians regarding our sewer system, and it can help you save money.
I never really thought what happened when I flushed the toilet. Just because it's flushable does not mean it's dissolvable.
Andrew Johnson is a lead wastewater operator at the South Water Reclamation Facility in Surprise, and he sees things that don't belong there every day.
I found $5. I was very happy about that.
And on their Instagram, I found 20. And also a rubber ducky.
Kids love to flush toys down the toilet.
What else do they see?
We see everything, feminine products, we see rags, flushable wipes.
You'd be surprised at how much plastic gets put in our sewer systems.
And all those things cause major issues at the facility.
It can actually get caught up on equipment, and once it gets caught on the equipment, it sort of starts to get tangled with other items.
This creates what are called rag balls, which have to be manually removed before they cause damage. But not all equipment is so accessible. Some is underwater, which makes it harder to clean more frequently.
Ultimately, what you should be flushing down your toilet is number 1, number 2, and toilet paper. And that's it. Those 3 items are really what the plant was designed to treat. Anything else is going to cause issues that are very expensive.
According to the city, about $300,000 are spent each year on average due to improper flushing or disposing habits. And that money for maintenance is coming from taxpayers.
The rates that the residents are paying to go into their sewer bill are what's really funding our ability to treat and, mechanically remove things that shouldn't be there. So ultimately, that is where the money is coming from.
But not to worry, it's not all down the drain from here. We can actually help by changing some simple behaviors.
It's extremely easy to take that hot grease and pour it down your drain and turn on that hot water. It takes time and effort to put it into a coffee mug and let it harden and then scrape it into the garbage can.
But even though it takes more effort,
it is 100% worth it. In the long run, it'll save us money, which saves the public money.
the campaign kicked off early January, and ultimately, the city hopes people will make better decisions about how they flush and what they choose to put down the toilet and drain versus into the garbage. Live from the newsroom, Jennifer Alvarez, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For the top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.